Hey, Alberto. So, what I want to talk about right now is the movement of large companies to reduce friction by replacing tethers, and we're going to use that word really broadly today, around technology and user experience. So, what I want to do is just talk about a few of the ways that we've seen it. Sometimes we're around the office and we just talk about some new way that some company has implemented a wireless technology to make user experiences better or to make a brand more cohesive. And I'm just curious, what's one that comes to mind for you when we talk about removing friction, removing the tether, and making the brand experience better?
Yeah, there's a couple. There's a couple that have actually come over the last years. First one that come to mind was Apple with implementing. It was the first phone manufacturer that implemented UWB,
Mm-hmm.
ultra wideband technology
Yep.
for enabling locating devices. So the friction was people losing their stuff all the
That's
time.
like the ultimate friction, right?
Right.
Like you can't find it anymore. It's the opposite tether. It's not connected to you, so you lose it. So they had a problem. People lose these expensive
Right.
devices. And what is UWB again? I know the name, but what does it basically do?
It's uh, it's basically another type of RFID technology,
Okay.
like NFC. It just works on a different frequency. Actually, the interesting thing about UWB is that it has the lowest spectral density. That means that the frequency of operation that it operates at is very wide.
Okay. And what does that mean for the experience or what the technology can enable?
It enables to have multiple devices on the same environment
Okay.
simultaneously,
Okay.
and it also is the right technology for triangulating very accurately location of devices because of that lower
Okay.
spectral density.
So I know
So
we can go on about UWB for a long time about what it is, how it works. But like you were going to talk about Apple and AirTags, and they enabled it. They enabled UWB on their phones to reduce friction. So, what's the current state? Like, what did they do uniquely with UWB that made this a better experience for users?
so with AirTags, they just made, as you said, they reduced the friction of finding your stuff because now they created this ecosystem or this network
Mm-hmm.
of all these iPhones that using leveraging this technology, they were able to triangulate on a very secure way all of your devices.
By leveraging multiple different iPhones, so not just my own, but like other people's.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's really interesting.
And that's the beauty of it. Like they were able to reduce friction without putting in jeopardy like people's security
Yeah.
on their devices. Yeah.
Well, security is like super important whenever you're going to replace a physical tether, whether that's like an actual physical key,
Right.
whether that's a cord, whether that's a leash for a dog, whatever it is. Security is usually one of those things that comes into play. So another application we've talked about, here in Chicago and in other big cities, there's these Amazon stores
Yep.
where you can just check out without ever having to check out.
Yeah.
So how does that work, and how is Amazon deploying wireless technology to reduce friction?
It's actually the same RFID technology. Is
Mhm.
very well, not exactly the same, but it's on the same frequency range,
Same as
and
what?
as Apple
UWB. So what is the
UWB.
frequency range?
It's on the hundreds of megahertz, so
Okay.
somewhere between 800 megahertz to 1 gigahertz is
Okay.
typically within that range.
Okay.
And basically, they're leveraging UWB's um, benefit of being able to accurately locate different tags. So in
Hmm.
this case, there once you get into the store, they now they're tracking your location and they have tags
Hmm.
for the location
Hmm.
of all the different products that are there. So
Hmm.
every different product has a UWB receiver,
Okay.
and once they're going through the store, then they pair you with all the products
Yeah.
that you just left with, and they're able to accurately know what exactly did you grab from the store,
Yeah.
and then that way you just walk out without having to actually check out.
So one thing that really strikes me about both of these examples, both the Apple example, the Amazon example, we've talked about like automotive examples too, where people can just walk up to their car and it knows they're there. It can
Yeah.
start turning on. It can open the door without them even like clicking something. So all of these examples, there's a tremendous amount of complexity underneath the surface.
Yeah.
There's a lot of math that goes on in that Amazon environment, but above the surface, it's just the an invisible experience for the user. And I almost wonder if that's, what brands should be looking for, is like a really seamless, cohesive experience for the user, even if it takes a lot of math, a lot of science, maybe some physics underneath the layer. There are certainly, that's what we do for wireless power and data, for example, is we can combine these systems to make it a seamless user experience on top. But at the end of the day, it's the brand's objective, and it's the brand's job to make it seamless for the user. Do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, and I think it definitely goes back to what you were talking about before, is reducing friction, right? And in this case, is the friction. Amazon was reducing the friction of queues to check out.
Yep.
Right. We wireless
makes the shopping experience faster.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, it makes it more seamless, and now you may consider going to an Amazon because you know that it's going to take you less time than
not
before.
not to mention that on the back end for the stores,
Right.
there's a lot less shrinkage, which is when they say that the company loses because of theft or because people will switch tags, on
Right.
products. They'll take the more expensive product tag and put it on the cheaper one when they check out. So when you put this type of infrastructure in the background, not only does it benefit the users, but it also benefits the stores. And really rises, all tides, so that the technology is just making it better for both sides of the equation.
That's exactly right. And then going to the wireless power and data side, one of the frictions that we're trying to reduce is context. So being able to, on the if you have your headset and you're moving around from your office to your back home, then your system knows the context that you just got there, and then all the setup on your office
all
is
the
configured.
devices can triangulate and talk with each other.
Right.
And it just provides such a better experience, not only for the user, but also for the IT managers to really understand how people are using their devices and what's going on.
Right. And we're trying to do it in a very cost-effective way because there's so many technologies that you can use. But regardless, you always need to charge your device. Yep. So why don't we leverage that technology to do all this contextual integration as well?
Yeah. So there's a lot going on in the world today with detethering and reducing friction. And so thanks for your insights.
Yeah, thank you.